Thank you, Supervisor. I typically don't speak at these. I represent folks. I have an organization called Frontline America, and I also represent a media outlet, Real America's Voice News. We were denied entry, along with my colleague Jordan Conradson, to the election office, and I figured this was an appropriate time to redress my grievance. I spend most of my time on the southern border exposing the invasion that's going on down there, especially here in Arizona and what's coming into our country. The biggest concern I have is if this election is certified, the only parties that will benefit from this are the cartels. They've taken over Mexico, and sadly, they've taken over many politicians in America. What we saw on Election Day was outrageous, and to say that it was anything but that is either you think we're stupid or you're just that arrogant. What we've seen from you in the election office and your response, very simple questions needed to be asked. 2020 was a disaster. How was 2022 worse? You cannot say that you can certify an election when half of the voting machines were down. Was it 1,000 people that were disenfranchised? Was it 10,000 of the people that were there in line, or the people that didn't show up because they saw on the news the election machines didn't work? The fact that you've already made up your minds, you've already made the decision. This is all semantics. All of us coming up here and speaking is semantics. You've already made your vote. You've already made this decision. You said the world is watching, and you're right. They're watching, and they're watching this disaster play out in front of them. You responded to the AG with the most pathetic, inept response I've ever seen. You have not redressed the grievances of these people. That is the question. And the answer that I hear from everyone across this room is you cannot certify. So the question is, what is the remedy? The fact that you were on a PAC that was going against Kari Lake, as well as Richer, going against Kari Lake, how can you say that there's no conflict of interest? You have a Secretary of State running against a gubernatorial candidate. How can you say there's no conflict of interest? And then your machines go down on Election Day. It is absolutely outrageous. If you certify today, the only thing you'll be certifying is your corruption.
Thank you, BOS and all, for hearing me today. I am Joanne Pierce, an in-town resident of Wickenburg. On October 10th, 2022, a massive hurricane hit and devastated Florida. On November 8th, 2022, a few weeks later, 7.5 million people voted on written ballots in the general election. 5 to 7 hours later, all ballots were hand counted, and the winners of those elections were announced. Yes. Meanwhile, in our Arizona, U5 BOS's and AZSOS's department was incapable of providing anything resembling a final count for weeks. Every single one of you ought to be ashamed of how Arizona is now the laughing stock of the nation because Maricopa County is inept. Corruption occurred, people's votes haven't been counted, and thousands of votes have been disenfranchised. Arizona needs to vote and count as Florida did November 8th, 2022. Shame to hell to Maricopa County for dragging our fine Arizona straight to the toilet.
Lydia Abril. My address is 2501 West Wickenburg Way. I represent Wickenburg Action Group. I have something to share with you with regards to what God has to say to all elected officials, every one of them. And this is found in the book of Psalms, chapter 58. Justice, you high and mighty politicians, don't even know the meaning of the word. Fairness, which of you has any left? Not one. All your dealings are crooked. You give justice in exchange for bribes. These men are born sinners, lying from their earliest words. They are poisonous, deadly snakes, cobras that close their ears to the most expert of charmers. Oh God, break off their fangs. Tear out the teeth of these young lions Lord. Let them disappear like water into thirsty ground. Make their weapons useless in their hands. Let them be as snails that dissolve into slime, and as those who die at birth, who never see the sun. God will sweep away both old and young. He will destroy them more quickly than wicked men, more quickly than a cooking pot can feel the blazing fire of thorns beneath it. The godly shall rejoice in the triumph of the right. They shall walk in the blood-stained fields of slaughtered wicked men. Then at last everyone will know that good is rewarded and that there is a God who judges justly here on earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, please.
Fabian. I live in Phoenix. To Mr. Richer, I have to tell you that your voter rolls are a disaster. I banged on over 6,000 doors. And those, when you pull up the names of who's supposed to be living at the households, there are sometimes 7 or 8 or 9 people listed, and not one of those people are the person I'm talking to at the front door. And that person does not know who any of these people are. That happens, I'd say, at least half of the time I knock on doors and get to talk to people. Same thing happened in 2020. I banged on over 4,000 doors that year, same exact result. Nothing's changed. This is not a crystal clear election, as you say. You thanked all of your workers and all of the 3,000 Arizonans that gave up their time and energy to do this. Did you see the latest Rasmussen poll that came out? It reads, survey of election workers, poll watchers, and volunteer attorneys reveals election chaos in Maricopa County. 84.3% of the people that took this poll say that they have zero confidence. 84% of poll workers in Maricopa have zero confidence in our election process from this year. You're wrong. You don't consult with we the people. You think you know and you don't. I'm addressing Mr. Richer at the moment. Also, I would like to tell you that I electioneered all throughout my district, and that was 10 different polls that I electioneered at. And every single one of those polls, I had people coming out panic-stricken because they were freaking out that their ballot was not accepted. They did not know if it was legitimate. They were told to throw it into the famous, infamous box number 3, or they were told to go and come back another time. Every poll I visited, I had no idea what to tell them because I'm outside as an electioneer. They're coming to our tent asking us what to do. So that's something else. And I want to know from all of you, how do we get to address the questions that were coming up and concerns, the gal before me, the concerns that we have, machines breaking down. You're going to listen to us talk for 2 minutes and then you're going to go off. You know something? I feel that you guys forget you represent we the people. And it's our concerns here. We have no confidence at all in our election process.
Thank you.
Slave. That's what I am to this system, to your corruption. This is outrageous. This is a national crisis. And you're giving people 2 minutes to address a national crisis. And the way that you guys can just sit there, it's disgusting. Watching you pledge allegiance to my flag was disgusting, the way that you sold us out. You said you don't have the statutory authority to do anything. You're going to take a yes-no vote. What does that tell us? Yes or no? If it's just yes, then why are you here? Why are you here then? You have discretion. And when you certify something, you're saying that it's trustworthy. There's nothing trustworthy about this. This is theater. It's optics. I was a longtime prosecutor. I went after drug traffickers. This is vote trafficking at its finest. I've seen the criminal element. You are vote traffickers. You are a vote trafficker. Flagrant. Criminal. What are you going to do about it? You've sold us out. You've sold us out. You've sold us out. So we're not here to be civil. You're worried about language? We're worried about our voices being stolen and never getting a fair election again. That's what we're worried about. Freedom. So a curse upon you, a curse upon all of you, you smug people. What, you got another chicken farm that needs to burn down, Mr. Hickman?
Mr. Chairman.
You know what's going on?
All right,
Am I bothering you?
Am
I bothering you? Because this election bothered me. And you're doing nothing about it. I don't care about that stupid buzzard. This is sickening. You have the power as the chairperson to enlarge the time limits and actually hear your constituents instead of putting a muzzle on them.
Thank you. Your time is up.